Welcome to Portraits of a Nation. Join us as we explore what shapes a country's identity, the people, places, sights and sounds that paint a picture of the world's greatest nations. Spain. One of the world's most distinctive artists, Salvador Dali, is known for his extraordinarily imaginative and varied creations. Probably his most enduring and iconic image is himself. Theatrical, zany and frequently bizarre, he was always entertaining and easily found an audience. Who else would consider an artistic collaboration with a sea urchin? Stunts aside, his artistic liaisons resulted in modern masterpieces. Working with Walt Disney in 1946, he created the surreal, dreamlike images for the short animation Destino. The production was shelved for financial reasons and was completed by Disney animators in 2003. Few artists are so recognized in their own lifetime, and few arouse such mixed reactions as Dali. He was a key figure in the Surrealist movement, but also was a gifted classical painter, influenced by artists such as Diego Velázquez, who also inspired his trademark moustache. His paintings are full of symbolism, optical illusions, and the subconscious. They're dreamlike and Freudian, with melting timepieces, elephants, insects, and eggs that add other layers of meaning. Dali's creative output was extremely diverse. His lobster telephone and Mae West lip sofa are iconic functional objects way ahead of their time. He was an architect and a graphic designer. He also sculpted, created jewelry, designed stage sets, fashion and textiles. He was passionate about photography and film and created the famous dream sequence in Spellbound. Ingenious, daring and so eccentric, that is Dali. He was a child of traditional art and fathered a whole new movement. Pablo Picasso, more than any other, is the name inevitably associated with modern art. A child prodigy, he was taught by his father, a respected art teacher, and mastered the classic styles from a very young age. By 13, the art world already took him seriously. Picasso had many lovers, and in 1918 married Russian ballerina Olga Koglova, with whom he had 2 children. He painted her often, but always realistically at her insistence. She did not appreciate his more adventurous styles.
This painting was executed in 1923 in the middle of their marriage, but towards the end of their relationship, if one can put it like that. As one can perhaps tell from the painting, he's very much in awe of Olga at this stage, but I think perhaps not so much in love with her. His eye, notorious as it was, had begun to wander by this stage in 1923.
Picasso pushed the boundaries of art, exploring whole new worlds of perception and realization. His work was never static, evolving through many differing influences and styles. With French artist Georges Braque, he developed Cubism, constructing multifaceted images created with geometric shapes. These cube-like elements gave rise to the name Cubism, and it became an influential art movement in the early 20th century. In his own lifetime, his art was highly collectible, and he is the artist whose work is most stolen. Several of his paintings rank amongst the world's most expensive. In May 2010, his nude green leaves and bust sold for $106.4 million US, a new world record. The architecture of Antoni Gaudí is admired worldwide. Barcelona owes much of its unique cultural identity and popularity to the extraordinary and distinctive buildings he created. Most famous of these is Sagrada Familia, which Gaudi began in 1883 and worked on until his death in 1926 after being hit by a tram. Work still continues, adding to Gaudi's completed sections with sympathetic but modern interpretations, as most of his plans and models were destroyed by Catalan anarchists during the Spanish Civil War.
La informàtica és avui un dels elements que ens ajuda més, sobretot per poder no únicament fer els càlculs, sinó sobretot per resoldre els problemes de la situació de cada element en el seu lloc, perquè al temple de la Sagrada Família les columnes no són verticals, són inclinades. I això sol, gràcies al làser, ja planteja uns problemes que es poden resoldre.
Dubbed God's architect, Gaudi was well aware the construction period would be lengthy, commenting, "My client is not in a hurry." Still, modern methods are a help. Laser-guided diamond-toothed saws now cut stones that a century ago would have been laboriously hand-carved. Computers have steadily been integrated into the project under the guidance of Bonnet, whose father worked alongside Gaudi. 2 of the 3 facades and 8 of the 18 towers are now complete.
Què passarà en el futur? No ho sabem, però jo crec que potser d'aquí 30 anys, o potser abans haurem arribat a la creu, potser d'aquí 15, no ho sabem, perquè tampoc coneixem les tecnologies que hi hauran.
For almost 40 years, General Francisco Franco dominated Spanish politics. It was a period under which the Spanish people suffered civil war, martial law, and a ruthless dictatorship. It would finally end when Franco died in 1975 and his appointed successor, Prince Juan Carlos, took over. A career soldier, Franco began his military training at 14 and was rapidly promoted, repeatedly the youngest person to reach his ranking, and at one point was the youngest general in all of Europe. His military career was marked with a series of successful but extremely brutal and bloody crackdowns. In Spanish Morocco, he suppressed local uprisings, encouraging the murder and mutilation of prisoners, and leaving Moorish villages burnt to the ground, with all dead, including women and children. Always aligned to the conservative cause and a staunch loyalist, he was an active figure in the events leading to the Spanish Civil War. Franco led the conservative nationalist side, which received the backing of Italy's fascist government led by Mussolini, and later by Hitler's Nazi government. When the nationalists won the war, Franco dissolved parliament and installed himself as leader in a dictatorship that was long and crushing. Up to 500,000 people died during the war, and another 200,000 opponents were later executed. Spain was sidelined internationally, and the economy suffered, only picking up at the end of the 1950s with new foreign investment and tourism. Over time, Franco allowed a slight loosening of the reins, finally in 1969 announcing his successor, but hanging on to power until his death. King Juan Carlos immediately began dismantling Franco's structure, enabling Spain to become a democratic constitutional monarchy. When the left-wing Popular Front government was elected in 1936, the military attempted a coup with support from far-right groups, including fascists. The coup failed, but the nation slid into civil war.
The Nationalist Army were rebelling against a democratically elected government, and it was seen as the thin end of the wedge, that if fascism could succeed in Spain as it had in Germany and in Italy, then it would spread very quickly to the UK, to America, and so it was seen as the last bastion, the last great cause that people could fight for. And that's why so many people on the left, whether they were right at the extreme end of anarchy or communism, or whether they just felt that there was something wrong there, they all took up arms or took up their pens or took up their paintbrushes and responded in some way to this very, very tragic conflict in Spain.
On the conservative nationalist side, led by Franco, were clergy, landowners, military and fascists, and on the other, workers, educated upper class, socialists and liberals. The 3-year war killed 500,000 and remains highly emotive today. Particularly shocking was the aerial bombing of the town of Guernica by German and Italian fascists supporting Franco. For 3 hours, the town was bombed and strafed, killing hundreds and destroying most of the town. George Orwell and Ernest Hemingway wrote of their own experiences in the war, and Picasso's Guernica and Weeping Woman reflect its horrors.
It created huge passions, and people felt very strongly for the Republican side and for the Spanish people and their sufferings, and wanted to express themselves and to show in their art or in their poetry exactly how strong those feelings were. And in particular, things like the bombing of Guernica and some of the other atrocities that were exacerbated on either side.
Inevitably, it was the civilians who paid the highest price. The Mediterranean diet has long equalled good health. The food of 1960s coastal communities consisted of plenty of olive oil, vegetables, fish, grains and cereals, less of dairy foods and just a little red meat. As incomes rose, the pyramid shifted shape and so did waistlines. More meat is consumed, fish is fried, not baked, and packaged, processed and fast foods emerge as staples. Generally though, the theory's right, and Spain hopes to get the diet placed on the UNESCO Cultural Heritage List.
Estoy muy a favor de que la dieta mediterránea, nuestra dieta mediterránea, la UNESCO la ampare y la proteja como un bien de la humanidad. Yo creo que es una buena iniciativa y lo que haya que hacer para que se apoye. ¿Por qué? Pues el por qué. Bueno, primero, más importante para mí que la UNESCO lo apruebe es que no la perdamos.
Spain's location and lifestyle makes healthy eating enjoyable and affordable. Tapas menus include tempting selections of vegetarian foods. The markets have an abundance of quality fish, vegetables and fruits. And of course, the power component, good quality virgin olive oil, is a given.
Los beneficios del aceite de oliva vienen principalmente de los componentes que tiene como grasa el aceite de oliva, el ácido oleico y cada vez más en los aceites vírgenes extra los componentes antioxidantes, es decir, los microcomponentes que tiene el aceite de oliva como producto natural, que es lo que se elimina en todo el resto de aceites. Esos componentes son los que se están determinando pues que retrasan la oxidación de nuestras células, la oxidación de nuestro cuerpo, que es lo que nos hace pues el deterioro físico.
In late 2010, UNESCO will announce if the Mediterranean diet becomes part of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. But as more nationalities appreciate its health benefits, it's spreading in the best possible way. Although Penelope Cruz knew she wanted to be a performer from a young age, it was dancing she envisaged. She studied classical ballet for 9 years at Madrid's National Conservatory and spent a further 3 years learning Spanish ballet. The hard work and determination put her in good stead when she made the switch to acting. She was prompted to do this after seeing Pedro Almodóvar's Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down, and at 15 auditioned at a talent agency and was chosen out of 300 applicants. Work soon followed in television shows and music videos, and at 17 she made her film debut in the art house hit Harman Harman, becoming an instant sex symbol. She's made many films in Spain, but has also successfully crossed over into international films, a fact helped by her linguistic skills. She learnt Italian for her role in Don't Move and carried off the Italian equivalent of the Oscar as Best Actress. She also speaks English and French in addition to her native Spanish. Over a career that has seen a broad mix of roles and genres, she's earned many other nominations and wins in the major European and American awards, and is the first Spaniard to be nominated for the Academy Award for Best Actress. Far more than a beautiful face, she has established herself as an intelligent and gifted actress in often demanding roles.
And sometimes the process of living with a character for so many months can be very beautiful but very exhausting, and you don't want to take it home at the end, but you can't help it. Sometimes it stays with you even for a month later. But it's such a difficult thing to put into words, because it always sounds a little crazy.
Since Pedro Almodóvar inspired her career switch, she successfully collaborated with him on a number of films. Like many of his films, the story of Pedro Almodóvar is definitely not orthodox. One of Spain's most important film directors, he had a very humble beginning. Born into an impoverished family in a rural town in La Mancha, Don Quixote territory. His virtually illiterate father carted wine barrels by mule, and his mother resourcefully set a very young Pedro to work as a village scribe. At 8, he was sent to a city boarding school where predatory priests abused some of his fellow students. The one redeeming feature about this new life was the local cinema, where he developed a passion for film. Later in Madrid, he became involved in the underground art scene and made short films and his first feature, already making his own distinctive mark.
But also, my ambition is not to make a big budget movie. My ambition is just to do something that I can put my heart in that. And in these cases, I do it better in my language.
His films are very sensitive to women, and he's had successful collaborations with actresses Carmen Maura and Penelope Cruz.
He was one of the reasons why I decided to become an actress when I was 13, so that one day I could try to work with him. So now this is my third movie with him, and a big dream that came true.
Despite being resolutely independent and nonconformist, Almodóvar's films have appealed to a wide audience and have increasingly garnered critical praise. He's received several awards in the categories of screenplay and foreign film, and has done much to lift the profile of European cinema, particularly to American audiences. The little boy who dreamed of making films is now a highly regarded director, not just in Spanish cinema, but world cinema. A member of a Spanish acting dynasty, Javier Bardem played what must be one of film's most genuinely scary villains. His psychotic character was in the Coen brothers' No Country for Old Men, based on the novel by Cormac McCarthy.
Bueno, los elementos oscuros del personaje estaban en la novela, y quizás lo que tenía la novela sobre todo era una descripción muy filosófica, intelectual, incluso emocional del personaje, pero no tanto física. Y fue el trabajo de los Coen y el mío intentar crear eso, recrear esa fisicidad del personaje, ¿no? Que estuviese acorde a esa filosofía, que es una filosofía bastante poco común, ¿no?
With this role, Bardem became the first Spaniard to win the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. Celebrations were on at the family restaurant where actress sister Monica got the champagne flowing.
Es un logro de Javier. que se lo ha dedicado a toda la profesión y a España y es un orgullo, pero yo me siento orgullosa por mi hermano. Ha llegado a un sitio donde pues no creo que ni él ni ninguno de nosotros pensábamos que iba a llegar, que la trayectoria sí apuntaba, porque es muy buen actor, pero es un orgullo para él, es algo personal.
Previously nominated for the Academy's Best Actor Award, Budham is one of the most highly regarded actors of his time. All round, this was an exciting win.
Pues me parece estupendo, realmente. Creo muy bueno para España, para el cine español y en total, vamos, para los españoles, aparte de para él.
Es un reconocimiento del arte español bastante considerable. Me parece un logro todo lo que ha conseguido en tan poquito tiempo.
Javier Budham has a chameleon-like capacity, bringing a whole new person to every role. Whatever he plays, you can guarantee it will be totally believable. Some people seem to be born to do one special thing. Jose Carreras certainly fits into that category. As a very young child, he constantly sang, anywhere, anytime. When he was 6, he saw Mario Lanza in the film The Great Caruso and would not stop singing all the arias, locking himself in the bathroom when the family got sick of it. He began lessons and aged 8 sang on radio, and at 11 sang as a boy soprano in Barcelona's Opera House. As an adult, he developed one of the most beautiful singing voices of his time. Quickly discovered, he performed tenor lead roles, travelling the world to appear in many of the great operas. In 1987, at his peak, he was diagnosed with leukemia and given a 1 in 10 chance of survival. He beat the odds with a grueling program of treatment and returned to the stage the following year. He joined with Luciano Pavarotti and Placido Domingo to form the Three Tenors, performing to massive audiences and gaining widespread international recognition. Their 1994 Los Angeles performance drew a television audience of an estimated 1 billion people. Nowadays, he performs about 50 concerts or recitals a year, traveling extensively. Each year, the Jose Carreras International Leukemia Foundation funnels $15 million of his earnings into leukemia research and support, giving back while doing what he loves.
I don't know for how many years I'm going to keep singing. I hope a few more, because this is a very important part of my life, performing, have been always. And I always feel privileged to have the possibility to go on stage and to try to communicate emotions and feelings with people, with the audience.
Much of his performance earnings have gone towards his Leukemia Foundation, which has raised many millions towards research and support services. He performs several charity events a year, helping others while continuing to do what he loves.